Every time it rained, she would visit his shop. Not for the umbrella, but for him. It was a small, almost hidden place, tucked away in an old alley, smelling of damp earth and machine oil. He was a man of few words, his hands always busy, moving with a quiet grace as he mended the broken skeletons of umbrellas. She, on the other hand, always seemed to find a reason to be there when the sky turned gray. Her first visit was born of necessity. A sudden downpour had snapped a rib on her favorite yellow umbrella, a gift from her late grandmother. She'd stumbled into his shop, soaked and flustered. He didn't say much, just took the umbrella with a nod, his calloused fingers gently tracing the torn fabric. A week later, he returned it to her, good as new. The stitching was so fine, so perfect, she could barely find the scar. After that, her visits became a ritual, a loose handle here, a stubborn clasp there. Sometimes, her excuses were so flimsy, she was sure he saw right through them. Once, she brought in a perfectly fine umbrella, claiming it felt a bit wobbly. Hoost smiled a small, knowing curve of his lips, and tightened a screw that probably didn't need tightening. She loved watching him work, the intense focus in his eyes, the way his brows would furrow slightly as he diagnosed a particularly tricky problem. He would carefully lay out his tools, pliers, needles, tiny screws like a surgeon preparing for an operation. In his hands, a discarded, mangled umbrella was not trash. It was a patient awaiting revival. There was a certain magic in the way he breathed life back into forgotten things. She would sit on the worn wooden stool he kept for customers, a silent observer in his world of clicks, whirs, and the soft rustle of canopy fabric. She learned the language of his craft through observation. She learned that a runner was the part that slid up and down the shaft, and that the ferrule was the tip at the very end. He never taught her directly, but she absorbed the knowledge from the air, from watching his patient, methodical movements. The rain became their secret messenger. A forecast of showers would send a flutter of anticipation through her. It was an excuse, a reason, a permission slip from the universe to see him again. She started to associate the smell of rain not with gloom, but with the warm, safe scent of his little shop. One afternoon, the rain was relentless, a curtain of gray that showed no signs of lifting. She brought in a small, foldable umbrella, claiming the automatic open button was stuck. It was a lie, of course. It worked perfectly fine. He took it from her, his fingers brushing against hers for a fleeting moment. A jolt, quiet but electric, passed between them. He pressed the button, and the umbrella sprang open with a soft whoosh. He looked at her, and this time his smile reached his eyes. They were a warm, deep brown, like polished wood. "It seems to be working perfectly," he said, his voice a low, pleasant rumble, the most he'd spoken to her in a single sentence. She felt a blush creep up her neck. "Oh. Is it?" It must have been the damp. It was stuck just a minute ago. He didn't call her out. He just slowly, carefully, folded the umbrella back into its compact form. His movements were hypnotic. As he handed it back, he didn't let go immediately. "You know," he began, his gaze steady, "you have more umbrellas than anyone I know, and they seem to be the most unlucky umbrellas in the entire city." Her heart hammered against her ribs. This was it. The game was up. She could only nod, unable to form a coherent reply. He let out a soft chuckle. "Or," he continued, his thumb gently stroking the back of her hand, which was still holding the umbrella, "maybe their owner just likes the excuse to visit on rainy days." The world outside, with its drumming rain and gray skies, seemed to fade away. In that tiny shop, filled with the ghosts of 1,000 storms, it was just the two of them. The unsaid words hung in the air, more potent than any declaration. She finally found her voice, a whisper. "Maybe she does." He nodded slowly, his smile widening. "I was hoping so, because I think I've run out of things to fix on this one." He gestured to the perfectly fine umbrella still connecting their hands. "But ... maybe you'd like to stay for a cup of tea until the rain stops." The rain didn't stop for hours, and for the first time, she didn't mind at all. She learned that his name was Leo. She told him her name was Clara. She learned he inherited the shop from his grandfather and that he found a strange peace in mending what was broken. He learned that she was a writer who worked from home and that the yellow umbrella was her most prized possession. The shop was no longer just a place for repairs. It became their haven. The sound of rain on the roof was no longer a signal for a broken umbrella, but a promise of a shared conversation, a warm cup of tea, and the quiet comfort of being with the one person who understood, without needing words. Their love story wasn't one of grand gestures or passionate declarations. It was built slowly, piece by piece, like the umbrellas he so patiently mended. It was a love that found its rhythm in the pitter-patter of raindrops, in shared glances over a workbench, and in the simple, profound act of fixing something broken and making it whole again. And sometimes, the thing that needed mending wasn't an umbrella at all.